Hi, I'm Deb with Queer Astrology, and I'm here to do a natal chart reading video for you. I'm going to break into an introduction, and then I will come right back to your chart. I want to start out by explaining to you how I look at astrology, and then I'm going to walk you through your entire chart, and I will give you the overarching experience of what it is to read a chart, what each of the players are, and how they all work together. How I look at astrology is that it's not an exacting science, right? It's about intention and where you might have a speed bump or have more focus in something. So when we look at your chart overall, it's 360 degrees around. Everybody has all 12 signs. Everyone has all 12 houses. In Western Placidius style that I'm using here for this reading is the most commonly used. And what that means is that the signs are 30 degrees even all the way around. The houses can vary. In the middle of your chart, there are a bunch of numbers. If you look at the left, it starts there going counterclockwise all the way around 1 through 12. Those are the houses. You will see that they have lines going out from them. Whichever sign that dotted line hits going counterclockwise is the ruler of that house. Even if it's 1 degree, it doesn't matter. It still rules that house. Houses are the where things are happening. The signs are the attitude you're going to bring into that part of your life. Points and placements that are there, there's thousands and thousands, and we're not talking about all of those. We're just talking about a select few, the ones that people are most accustomed to discussing. They can bring an extra bit of focus. So as we go around, I will discuss all of those. The aspects, which I will discuss at the end, that is the relationship between those focus points, how they're getting along. We will walk through your chart from the beginning all the way around. Let's do this. So the first house is the house of self, and yours is Gemini. And Gemini is known for their intellect and their communication. So people will see you as that. This is your public filter. People that don't know you as well, your acquaintances, they will look at you as somebody who's very intelligent and can communicate well. You will also, because you have a big chunk of this house that's actually under the sign of Cancer as well, which brings some nurturing energy to yourself and learning how to nurture yourself. And the placement you have here is actually the planet of Jupiter. And Jupiter is the planet of expansion. So having Jupiter here in your first house means a couple of things. It's in Cancer, so that means the more you learn how to comfort yourself and other people, the more you will expand as a person. So that to me means if you are not doing, I also feel like Jupiter kind of shows me your hidden talents. So if you're not doing something that has to do with self-help or helping people learn how to care more about themselves, you probably should be. And probably something to do with communication. Like writing a book or doing, some sort of videos or something like that. That's what that signifies to me. So Cancer ruling your second house means that you really value comfort and nurturing. And you will look for that in abundance from other people in your life, all of those things. Now, Leo also takes up a big part of that, which means you're going to value creativity as well and pleasurable things, okay? You want that comfort, but you also want some pleasure involved. Leo's ruling your third house, and the third house is your house of communication and thought. So creative and pleasurable and playful in how you communicate, they are definitely workhorses. And you will like to get adoration for your style of communication because Leos, while they're known as being egotistical, it's actually more about the fact that they enjoy getting adoration for the things that they do. They don't want to get credit for nothing. So when you're communicating, you want to come through as playful and creative, probably so others can learn more from you. It's your fourth house. That is the house of home. And yours is ruled by Virgo. And Virgo, it wants to be of service. So you're going to want to be of service in your home life. Make sure everybody has what they need. Cancer is the native ruler of this house. That means that because you value some of the attitudes of this house, it's going to be easier for you to be of service. You're going to be very good at it. Now, Libra is the majority of this house, which means you're also going to desire balance in that, where you're going to give a lot, but you would like to have some sort of balance, like a little give and take. And Libra rules your fifth house, which is the house of creativity. You're harmonious in how you express yourself and your pleasure. Meaning that you don't mind going to seek pleasure, but you want to make sure it's enjoyable for everybody involved. The placement you have here is actually in Scorpio, and it's the planet of transformation, natively ruled by Scorpio, Pluto. So what this means is your creativity will help you and others because it's a generational planet, meaning anybody who's within close to that age will have this planet in this placement. However, not necessarily in this house. So your transformation will come from creativity and seeking your pleasure. And that's what Scorpio there is going to say, well, yes, but I want to be a little more mysterious about it. I don't want to necessarily be vulnerable in my creativity. That feels, but I want to seek the truth in how I'm creating. That's that Scorpio energy that's always about trying to seek the truth, and therefore you can transform by having more information. Now, when we talk about the 6th house, which is the house of routine, yours is ruled by Scorpio. So Scorpio, it's going to give you honesty and intense acts of service. You are seeking the truth. So you want to make sure that these routines are truly working for you or the people that you're providing these services for. This is also the house about ill health. So that doesn't mean you are going to have ill health in these areas. It's just if there is anything that comes up in these particular areas I'm about to say, have it go checked out, okay? For Scorpio, it's the eliminative organs, meaning your colon, your rectum, your bladder, and any of your sexual organs. You know, don't mess around with any of that. And your 7th house is the house of relationships. So it's ruled by Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a very wise sign because they crave experience to understand. They seek educational opportunities in order to understand. And they're also very philosophical. So when you put that into your relationships, that's what you're going to seek. You're going to want to have relationships that are adventurous, that seek to have some sort of higher understanding, either philosophically or through education of some sort. And that education, because of the Sagittarius, probably is going to be based around experiencing things in order to educate yourself. Because the 7th house is about contractual relationships, so it could also be work. More long-term kinds of relationships. You are going to want to make sure that this person is kind of your partner in study, your partner in experience, and either they have a lot of their own experiences that they're bringing to the table, or they're in it with you. They want to go and experience things. The 2 placements that you have here are actually in the sign of Capricorn, which comes off as a little more reserved but efficient. So you're going to want to be efficient in how you're experiencing and educating and philosophizing about your relationships and your connections, because Capricorn is very organized and to the point. And so they're both the other 2 generational planets. These 2 focus points are part of your relationship. The first one is Uranus, and Uranus is the planet of rebellion, your social planet. So you probably will want your partner to be someone that you can really relate to in your social aspects, in your humanitarian acts. They're going to probably need to be on the same page with you. And then you also want somebody who can dream of, because Neptune is here, and Neptune is the planet of dreams and intuition. You'll enjoy having kind of a hidden language with the people that you're connecting with. You can finish each other's sentences, things like that. That is something that feels dreamy and lovely to you. And because those positions are in Capricorn, they also make it feel like it's worth it, like it's to the point. We move over to the 8th house because you also have another sign in Capricorn, which actually kind of gives you a Capricorn stellium. Stelliums are 3 or more points in the same house or sign. And then this one, which is actually natively ruled by Capricorn, and that is Saturn. It's the planet of restriction and results. By having a Capricorn stellium, you're going to have more efficiency, more initiation, because Capricorns are starters and they're about structure. Capricorn is ruling your 8th house. Your 8th house of power is the house of taboo, death, rebirth, sex, any of that sort of thing. Having Saturn there, it might make you a little resistant to change because you're concerned that you will lose power with your change and transforming who you are. There's another placement here, and this placement's actually in Aquarius, the sign of Aquarius. So Aquarius brings a very unique feeling to things. They're the more humanitarian, the social kind of sign. So you probably will have some sort of social interactions where you're talking about the things of the taboo, or death, or rebirth, or sex, or things like that. The moon, which is the point that rules your emotions, resides here in Aquarius. You have very unique ideas and emotional attachments to your sense of power. You are not standard in how you seek power. You're about how you can collectively, you and the world can seek power. Having the moon here might mean that you need to modify some of your relationships because it might feel like they're pulling your power from you. Hey, you have very unique ideas. Don't allow other people to shame you out of those interesting ideas. They're taking your power away. The 9th house, higher learning, experience. Oh, yours is ruled by Aquarius, which means you are going to look for unique and interesting ways to go on adventures and different ways to educate yourself and different kinds of philosophies, preferably in a group setting, and probably something that's all encompassing of the world and not just about you having an adventure or education or philosophy, but everyone, as many people as possible. We move over to the 10th house, the cusp of their 10th house. And the midheaven is literally the top, the apex, the highest point of your chart. The midheaven is represented by the MC you'll see written on the chart here. And it represents your accomplishments, your sense of responsibility, your public standing. Now there's something that's 180 degrees down from that, which is called the IC or enum coli. It's the lowest point of your chart. It's exactly 180 degrees straight down, and it's always on the cusp of the 4th house, which is your house of home. So whichever sign is on that cusp is your enum coli, and in your case, that's Virgo. So your MC is Pisces. You're a little bit psychic. You have these visions, and you're very compassionate. Because Pisces is the oldest and wisest sign. They've been around the block. So you're bringing that into your ambition. And it's rooted in your IC. And if your IC is this Virgo, right, that's very rigid and very disciplined. So you're probably very good at that part. You're probably great at being organized, rigid, and focused on getting stuff done. Your ambition is saying for you to trust your insides more, to trust your gut more, to trust your intuition more going into the future in order to achieve your ambition. Don't dismiss the roots of being organized and rigid even, because it helps you, because having some of that keeps you a little bit grounded in what you're doing. But don't limit yourself. Don't subdue your ambition, which is to be out there a little bit. You even have a placement here. And the placement is actually in the sign of Aries. And Aries is a fire sign. They're the youngest sign. They are the native ruler of the 1st house, the first of everything. And you have natively ruled planet of Mars here at top energy. It's your dominant planet, your passion. And top energy, what I mean by that is it's just, this is the part of your life that you like to dominate. Aries is very urgent, so they're very take action. They have a lot of information coming in all the time, and they like to start things. And they like to start action. They're about movement. And so having that kind of energy in your 10th house, which is about your ambition and your career, means you're going to be extremely passionate about what you're doing. You're going to be very independent, and you're going to come off a little bit urgent, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because you do have that structure from your rooted Virgo. You can rely on that to ground you and allow your Mars to help push you and create a bunch of ideas, and then filter them with your Virgo IC. Your 11th house of socialization is ruled by Aries, barely. But that means that you have competitive ideals, and you're going to love to be challenged within your networking groups and your social groups. You're going to like to collaborate, but you want it to be a little bit competitive, and you want to be working towards something. The fact that you have Taurus in the majority of this just brings you some security and some stability, which again is going to just help with the initiation and the fire movement of Aries. Having another earth sign here grounding you again. And you actually have a placement here which is natively ruled by Taurus, and that's Venus. So Venus is your surrendering energy, what you seek to actually surrender to in your life. So having it in Taurus is if you are in a social group with somebody, And they are very tenacious, and they're just sturdy, and they're strong and steady, and they make you they're luxurious in how they are social and their interactions and their network. That is going to be what you can surrender to. That's going to be, you're like, oh, this person's amazing. Like, that's the feeling and the accomplishment. Like that's how you can feel as though you can relax. And it happens to be in your networking area. So it could be work, but it could be, if it's a relationship thing, it would be about your social circle. And your 12th house is ruled by Taurus. This could bring you, you don't want to be very spontaneous with your intuition. 2 placements here, but both of them are in Gemini, which is your rising sign, but it's also a big part of your 12th house. The 2 placements you have here, Mercury, the planet of communication, which is natively ruled by Gemini. This brings you experience and skill in how you communicate, especially about the things that are unseen. It will directly affect the true you because your sun is here. And having your sun here, first of all, it indicates to me that this is not your first trip here on Earth. You've probably had several lives, and your ego is intertwined with your intuition. You have this sense of loneliness that can come over you because you're advanced. You've lived a lot of lives, and it can feel very lonely, like people just don't understand and they just can't keep up with you. You have this amazing charm about you and dreaminess that people can see. Again, dreamy storytelling and like fascinating ideas. You internally might feel a little bit sad and lonely about that. And that's totally understandable. But if you can communicate, like I was talking about, if you can get information out about how people can try to catch up to you, you might find that you'll feel a lot less lonely. So now we're going to talk about aspects. I'm going to break away for a little intro, and I'll be right back. Now, I want to talk about your aspects. I'm not going to talk about every single one of them, but I want to give you an indication of what they mean and how you can find out more information about them if you want to. Aspects are the relationship between points. It's how they interact with each other. Now, you want to look up any of these, natal, Natal, because there are natal and there are transit. If it's in your chart, that's natal. You can find out more in-depth information on any of these that you're curious about. So conjunction means 0 to 10 degrees. It's blended energy. You cannot tell them apart. And for you, as an example, Sun conjunction ascendant, that's your ego is blended with your public filter. So that's going to give you this commanding presence. In fact, that's actually a royalty aspect. It means that you probably were some sort of royalty in a past life. A sextile is 60 degrees. So I call this one the bestie. They're 2 independent points. They do their own thing, but they love each other. They love spending time together. They love doing things together. That's a sextile. 2 signs apart. Your first one here is Mercury is sextile MC, or your midheaven, which would be communication is best friends with your ambition. So that says to me that you are a free thinker. When we move over to square, those are 90 degrees apart. They're in conflict with each other. They're not happy. Now, this isn't anything that says, oh, well, what's the point? I shouldn't try it. This is actually something that will show you what to consider when you're having interactions with other people or the world or your life in general. As an example, if you have moon, which is your emotions, and it's in conflict with your Venus or your love or surrendering energy, that can make it feel like it's difficult for you to find some satisfaction. So if that's the case, it doesn't mean that you won't find satisfaction. It just means it's difficult. So you might have to put a little extra effort into seeking that if that's something that you want. Trines, that's flowing well together. They're in sync with each other. In fact, I like to compare it to the band NSYNC. They could do great things by themselves, but when they all happen to flow together, it's even better. Talk about Jupiter trine to Pluto. That's your expansion is in sync with your transformation. So that's going to bring you luck and success. When we talk about oppositions are my favorite aspect because they create action from friction. So they push and pull each other. They see each other and they're like, what are you doing over there? I can beat that. And they kind of go back and forth. Well, in your case, you have something like Jupiter, which is your planet of expansion, which is pushing and pulling with your rebellion, your Uranus, your social life, right? So that means you're going to have some this battle between being self-satisfied and between fitting in. A couple of chart patterns that I want to mention, and if you want to look these up as well, a T-square, which is a fairly common pattern, but it's the opposition I was just talking about, where they push and pull each other, but in this case, they have a referee. The referee is that apex point, the one that's at the top of the triangle, the squared planet, if you will. In this case, with your Venus is kind of having a little back and forth with your transformation, and what decides is your emotions, because your moon is a decider there. Next one, this is a mystic rectangle. This is not a very common, in fact, this is fairly rare, and it indicates some sort of psychic ability. But again, if you were royalty in a past life and there's a lot of signs that show that you have some sort of line of life. And so having a mystic rectangle, it's extra talents and strengths. And it's going to be talents and strengths that you use with these particular planets that are involved. Or these particular focuses that are involved. So for you, that's your love, your expansion, your dreams, and your transformation. Those 4 things combined are where your secret hidden talent resides. Thank you so much for getting a reading. I really, really appreciate it. I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Yeah, cheers.